From this stanza, the first idea that you get, they are prancing across the screen? No. Here, Aunt Jennifer is a woman who is doing the work of embroidery. You might have seen Jennifer's hand at the end represents the reality of her life. It is what she has ended up with. The exaggeration of something is called as hyperbole, and an example of hyperbole in this stanza is massive weight. A very warm welcome to all of you to your own prep school English classes. I am your prep school English teacher, Kshama. Well, today we are setting forth on the 6th poem of class 12 from the textbook Flamingo, which is named as Aunt Jennifer's Tigers by Adrienne Rich. Now, in this poem, you might be wondering, as obvious as it may sound, you might be wondering that this poem it is about Adrienne Rich's tigers. She has, maybe she has some tigers at her place and she's taking care of them. Are these domesticated tigers that we are going to talk about? Let's see what is there in the poem for us today in order to discover it. Let's discover it line by line. Let's understand what is there in this session for all of you. Moving forward, in this session, we are going to learn about the poet, the summary and line-by-line analysis of the poem, as well as the poetic devices that are used in the poem in order to enhance the effect of whatever the words that have been used, the images that have been used in the poem. Let's see what are the poetic devices that are in place. Okay? To start with, what do we start with all the time? About the poet, right? Let's start. Before starting up with the poet, I have a couple of questions that are related to this poem to you directly. Now, do you feel it easier for you to express or voice out your opinions all the time to whoever it is? If you think this is right and this is wrong, and I need this, I do not want this, is it easy for you to express your opinions, or does it take a lot of guts? Does it take a lot of energy of yours? Is it not easy at all? Next. The second question is, how would you feel if, the choice of clothes that you wear, the choice of people that you want to talk to, if all of that is taken away from you? Like, you're not supposed to eat this, you're not supposed to wear this, you're not supposed to talk to all these people, okay? And what if you have to comply with the orders and commands of other people? Somebody else, if they want you to do something, will it be easier for you to just follow it? Are you the people-pleasing kind? Or are you somebody, even though when somebody tells you this is not what you have to do, this is what I want you to do, you will go on and do it your way? Which sort of a person are you, and which is easy? Okay. Next one being, have you ever ended up drawing or painting or writing that you about something that you were feeling involuntarily? Even when you start sketching something, it might have ended up being something that you were feeling all day or all morning. Has it happened with you? Now, why am I asking all these complicated questions about what do we feel and what others want us to do? What is the struggle between? Clearly, it is the struggle between the freedom of doing something, freedom of being yourself against what others want you to do, be it anyone for that matter. It is the struggle between those two things, right? Which one wins at last? Let's see. Now, today's poet is Adrienne Rich, as you see on the screen. Let's get to know more about Adrienne Rich. Now, Adrienne Rich is an American poet. What else do we know about her? She's an essayist and a feminist. Okay, she's an essayist, American poet, and a feminist. Now, during the second half of the 20th century, she was a widely read and a very influential poet as well. She mainly, the object or the subject of her poetry used to be the against the oppression of women. Whatever the poetry that she wrote, the work talked about the oppression of women as well as especially the lesbians. Now, you might be very well aware of the LGBTQ community. Today, everyone can be whatever they want to be. Their identities can be whatever that they decide it could be, right? So, even in the second half of 20th century itself, Adrienne Rich wrote against the oppression of women and as well lesbians. Then she published 19 volumes of poetry and 3 essay collections. How many? 19 volumes of poetries and 3 essay collections. Then she strongly opposed racism and militarism. Now, militarism is the idea of using the military services of the country as aggressively as possible in order to restore whatever that the national interest is. Using the military power aggressively is militarism. She was against these two evils, which is racism and militarism. I'm sure you know what racism is. It is biasing people, discriminating them based on the race they belong to. As well as notable works were Diving into the Wreck and the Trees. This was one of her very well-known works. Then, what are the awards that she has won? Adrienne Rich has won the National Book Award and Bollingen Prize, Griffin Poetry Prize. There are 3 notable awards that she has won. The first one is the National Book Award, Bollingen Prize, Griffin Poetry Prize. These are the 3 prizes, notable prizes that she has received for the work that she has done and the contribution that she has done to the field of English literature. Okay. Now, these are what we know about Adrienne Rich, starting from the fact that she's an American poet, essayist. She also wrote essays, and during the 20th century, the second part, she was very famous, and the subject of her poetry was oppression of women and against the oppression of lesbians. Then she also talked about race. She was against racism and militarism. Okay. We also got to know her most famous work and 3 amazing awards that she has received, which was Griffin Poetry Award, National Book Award, and Bollingen Prize. Okay. These are the things that we know about her. Moving on, let's see what sort of a poetry Adrienne Rich writes. Okay. What effect does it have on us? What is the subject that she has chosen over here? It clearly sounds like tigers that she has, maybe, you know, she's talking about Aunt Jennifer's tigers that live with her all the time. Let's see. Is it that simpler? Let's understand. Now, over here, moving for the first stanza, Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across the screen. Okay? Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across the screen. Bright topaz denizens of a world of green. Now, you have to notice something over here, okay? Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. Bright topaz denizens of a world of green. Next, they do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. Okay, this is the first stanza of Aunt Jennifer's Tigers by Adrienne Rich. Clearly, from this stanza, it feels like she's talking about Aunt Jennifer's tigers. There are 2 things over here. There is Aunt Jennifer and there are tigers. Now, it is not as it looks over here, okay? From this stanza, the first idea that you get, they are prancing across the screen. No. Here, Aunt Jennifer is a woman who is doing the work of embroidery. You might have seen this, pure white or off-white cloths that are being tightly bound to the round wooden frame. Then, with the help of the needles and threads, she is seen doing the work of embroidery. Now, embroidering what? She is embroidering tigers. The work that is coming out of this art of embroidery is tigers. Then, they are prancing across the screen. Now, the tigers that she is doing the work of, they are not in a sitting position. They are actually prancing with the help of their hind legs. They are actually seen in the dynamic motion. The picture that she is drawing, as you can see on the screen, they are in the dynamic motion. It's not in the sitting calm position. Now, what does the line represent? This is on a literal basis that we understood the line. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. Clear, she's doing an embroidery of the tigers that are in action, that are in motion. But why is Aunt Jennifer doing that? Now, she is somebody who is, let's understand her in depth in order to understand why she is doing the embroidery of tigers in particular, okay? Let me not just spoil everything for you at once. Let's go, stanza wise and then reveal all the secrets that are embedded in this poem. Bright topaz. What is topaz? Topaz is nothing but a bright yellow stone. Okay, now we are comparing this color in order to describe how the tigers look. We are comparing these two things, bright topaz, denizen. Bright topaz, topaz is a yellow stone, bright yellow stone. Similarly, in this color is the tiger looking, whatever that she is doing the embroidery art of, that resembles the color of topaz. Topaz is nothing but a bright yellow stone. Okay. Denizens of a world of green. Now, world of green refers to the forest. Where do the tigers live? They live in the forest. They are the residents. They are the natives of the forest. Now, from this context, you understand that denizen means they are the citizens or they are the natives of world of green, of forest. Simple. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. But then who is actually fearing the men beneath the tree? What is the poet trying to convey over here? The tigers that Aunt Jennifer is creating on the embroidery, the cloth, piece of cloth, they do not fear the men beneath the tree. The design is as such, the tigers are on top of the tree and there are men beneath the tree, okay, as we understand from here, but they are fearless. These tigers are they fearful? No, they are fearless. That is what they are. From this line, we understand they do not fear the men beneath the tree. First quality of tigers revealed. They pace in sleek chivalric certainty. Now, how are they moving? How are they moving? They are moving with, very quietly, with a lot of elegance, with a lot of confidence. Okay? Unlike who? Unlike our Aunt Jennifer over here. Now, this embroidery work is coming out because this is how Aunt Jennifer wants her personality to be. This is nothing but an expression of her own oppressed personality, her own traits. She wants to be fearless. She wants to do whatever she likes. And she wants to be this elegant, confident person like the tigers that she is doing the embroidery work. The tigers that are being born out of the embroidery work are actually what our Aunt Jennifer wants to be. Such a wonderful symbolism, is it not? Now, there's a thing, if you can't understand what a child is feeling, you can just ask them to draw anything, and whatever they draw, most of the times will be somewhere related to what they are feeling. If they are fearing something, if they like someone, they ended up drawing the same thing, right? Similarly, Aunt Jennifer over here has done the embroidery work of fearless, colorful, bright, okay, tigers that are confident and elegant. In turn, who wants to be all this? Our Aunt Jennifer wants to be all of this in the first place. It is so much of messages put in so precisely into 4 lines, right? Now, here I want you to think about how does it feel to be oppressed or to be, forbidden to make your own choices, to be not able to do something that you want to do, really want to do, or at least to be the person who you really want to be. If you have to change for somebody else, how would it make you feel? And then, how would you express it? Aunt Jennifer over here is expressing it in her own way. How would you express it? You can actually also end up writing a poetry like this one as well. Who knows? Adrienne Rich is also expressing something like this. Now, over here, coming to the part of the poetic devices and stuff, we see that screen rhymes with green, tree rhymes with certainty. So, we see A, B, B. We see A, B, B rhyme scheme. Why did I put A and A? Because the sound screen, N, and green, N. These two are similar, so we will keep it A and A. Over here, we have tree, E, certainty, E. So, these sounds are similar. That is why we are naming it as B. So, the rhyme scheme is A, and B, B. What else is here? We see the comparison, the metaphor of comparison between the bright topaz in order to help us understand or picturize how the tiger is actually looking. Imagine a bright topaz, bright yellow stone. Similar was the color, similar was the shine of this tiger that was being created by Aunt Jennifer. Let's recap and find out if there is anything more that we have to see in this particular stanza. Now, they are prancing. They are in what action? They are in a dynamic motion. These tigers are not sitting idly. They are in motion. How? They are springing from their hind legs. Okay. Bright yellow stone, which is nothing but a topaz that we talked about. Resident. The word denizen means resident or a native of the world of green. Then sleek, chivalric certainty with a lot of elegance, with a lot of nobleness. Here you should see how contrasting image that has been created, okay? The men beneath the tree, they are actually coming out to be cruel. Since the tigers, there is a chance of tigers have to be fearful about the men beneath the tree, which means men beneath the tree. This animal that is supposed to be brutal, that is supposed to be evil, or a lot of whenever you think of a tiger, all you think of is the cruelty that it depicts, a lot of fearfulness that it brings in us. If you hear a tiger roaring in some distance when you visit a zoo, of course there's a pinch of fear that arises in you, right? But over here, there's a contrasting image. The men beneath the tree are much brutal, which means the people who are oppressing, or the human beings that are oppressing Aunt Jennifer, or women in general for that matter, are much more cruel than the animals. Okay, that is what we are talking about here. And these animals that are supposed to be much more cruel in nature, their original nature is supposed to be cruel, but they are what? They are noble. The tigers are more noble than human beings. As simple as that. Then Aunt Jennifer is knitting her desire to be free, as we got to know. The tigers are prancing, which means they are in action. She wants to do a lot of things, and she wants to be this, confident, free, independent, fearless person on the whole. Fearless and free is what she wants to be, like the tigers are. Next, the rhyme scheme that we discussed, AABB, which is, if you want to go back again, screen, green, tree, certainty. Next up, anaphora. What is anaphora? We also talked about the metaphor. Let me take this as well. Bright topaz, the color of, how is the color of the tiger? I am answering that question with the answer bright topaz, like the bright topaz. That is a metaphor. That comparison is a metaphor. Now, what is anaphora? They. In this stanza over here, did you see the word they being repeated twice? This repetition of the word twice is called the same word. There's no difference. There's no spelling, change of spellings. Or you may just ask, ma'am, is it just T that is being repeated? No, it's the entire word, T-H-E-Y. The entire word is being repeated again and again to create an effect. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They move, they pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. It is stressing on the fact that it is the tigers we are talking about. That is called as, that particular poetic device is called as anaphora. The repetition of the same word. If it was if used again and again, then that would also be an example for anaphora. I hope this simple stanza, exploding with a lot of internal messages, made sense to you. Okay. Moving on to the second important stanza of this poem. Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering, Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool, find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hands. Okay? Now we are introduced to some more details in the second stanza. It is not just Aunt Jennifer and her desire to be fearless and free that is coming out in the in the form of the embroidery work that she is doing. There is a reason. Everything has a cause, or everything has a reason, right? Now, Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering. These fingers of Aunt Jennifer's, they are shaking. They are shaking. Why? They are shaking out of fear. It is so weak, so helpless. Why is it so? Through her wool, why is it that her hands are shaking when she's doing the embroidery work. Her hands are shaking, and the ivory needle, the needle made out of ivory, material ivory, it is hard to pull. It is very difficult. Her hands are so weak. She, as a person, has become so weak that even to pull, how heavy can a needle be? But even to pull that needle through the embroidery, she doesn't have that strength. She has grown really weak over the period of time. Why? There is a reason, right? That she is finding even the ivory needle hard to pull from the wool. The massive weight. There is weight of what? What is that is burdening Aunt Jennifer? Uncle's wedding band. Now, it is not literally that we are talking that there is a massive, huge diamond that uncle has given to her, and that is the reason it is difficult for her to pull the needle through the wool. No. The burden of marriage, okay? Who is she married to? She is married to, this person is addressed as uncle over here, Aunt Jennifer. Here, she is still addressed as Aunt Jennifer, and there is uncle whom she is married to. Now the obligations, the responsibilities and the expectations that come with marriage are here named as the wedding band. Everything comes inside this wedding band, which is the expectations, the responsibilities, the obligations, everything that she is expected to do in this setup of marriage. That is making her weak. That has made her fall prey into being weak. Okay? She sits heavily. This sits heavily upon what? The wedding band is very heavy. It sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hands. Now, Aunt Jennifer's hand at the end represents the reality of her life. It is what she has ended up with. What? The burden of marriage, the burden of being married to this man. Now, we don't know what has happened throughout these years in this marriage. All we know that it has become heavy and unbearable for her to take. It has made her weak, is what we understand. Now, coming to the part of rhyming scheme, it is obvious and I can hear you screaming out loud through this video, okay? A, wool, pull, A, same sound. Then band, hand, okay? Now, that is the rhyme scheme again over here, A, B, B. Wool, pull, hand, band and hand. I hope this stanza over here made sense to you. Let's understand it again, have a recap of this whole thing. Now, there is a shivering movement in Aunt Jennifer's hands. Her hands are fluttering as she's trying to pull the needle through the wool in her work of embroidery. Why? Because there is weakness and fearfulness that has, that has entangled her hands, that has made her hands weak. It is because of the fear and weakness. It is the enslavement of marriage. Now, why is that? This is again, the shivering movement is connected to weakness and fearfulness. Why is there weakness in her? Why can't Aunt Jennifer be happy? Because she is become a slave to this marriage. There is a lot of expectation and responsibility. She is not liking what this marriage is giving to her. Okay? All of this is interconnected. All these actions, see how beautifully they are interconnected. The wedding band is a typical symbol of, it is supposed to be a symbol of love, right? It is supposed to be a symbol of unconditional acceptance. The wedding band. But over here, it is burdening her. There is no unconditional acceptance. There is no unconditional love. She has to obey the orders or commands of her husband. Husband is God and you have to abide or you have to listen to whatever he wants you to do. That's what the marriage has done to her, or that's what the wedding band has ended up being to her. The meaning of the wedding band has transformed entirely. Then, what is the alliteration that has been used in this stanza? Fingers fluttering. The consonant sound F has been repeated to create that effect. Fingers are fluttering. Okay. This is called as alliteration, as you all know. The example is fingers fluttering. Personification. Now, what is personification? Here, if you can see, ring doesn't have life, right? Now, personifying something that is lifeless, giving life and talking about it as though it has life. Okay? The air is singing. If you say air is lifeless, can the air sing? No, it is just my way of describing the air today. Similar way, ring is sitting. Can the rings actually sit or stand for that matter? But giving humane qualities, attaching humanly qualities to things that are objects is called as personification. And an example for personification in this stanza is ring sits. Then a hyperbole, massive weight. Ring, you know that how weighing can a ring be, or how weighing can an ivory needle be. But in order to exaggerate the effect that this ring is having over here, the poet has exaggerated it. The massive weight of uncle's wedding band. It is massive, it is huge. Now this exaggeration is called as hyperbole. The exaggeration of something is called as hyperbole, and an example of hyperbole in this stanza is massive weight. Next, paradox. Paradox is opposites together. Now we see that Aunt Jennifer's hands are shivering, they are shaking, okay? Now you also know that obviously embroidery is a work that requires one to be a lot stiff, a lot, you have to be very clean with your work, and your hands have to be very still, very stiff, because you have to do it with a lot of precision, accuracy, and you can't just put the needle everywhere and pull it off and there it is, your tiger. It would come out as an amoeba, okay? But over here, the shivering hands, this over here, shivering hands, how can shivering hands give rise to an art or a piece of art that requires one to be stiff, one to be accurate and precise? This is a paradox. This is an opposite. Shivering hands giving rise to the work of precision, which is embroidery work. So now in this stanza particularly, we saw alliteration, fluttering fingers fluttering, and then personification, ring which is lifeless, it is told as it is sitting on Anne's hands. Then there is hyperbole, which is exaggeration of the weight of the ring, it is massive, Adrienne Rich tells us. Then paradox, how the shivering hands are giving rise to the work of precision, okay? Next up, coming to the third stanza and the final stanza of this poem. When aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie. Still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. Now the first thing I would want you to notice in this stanza is, she is just an aunt now. Her name is not mentioned in this last stanza, which means at the end eventually she also loses her identity. She is more than just an aunt. She is Jennifer. She is Jennifer who wants to be free and fearless. Now there is no particular identity for this aunt over here. It could be any aunt. We don't know if it is Aunt Jennifer. So by the time we reach the final stanza of the poem, we see how Aunt Jennifer has lost her identity and has become just an aunt who is the uncle's wife. Okay. Aunt Jennifer, when she's dead, even when she's dead, you think she can escape this burden or this enslavement of marriage? Let's see. When aunt is dead, her terrified hands are terrified, okay? Fluttering hands, fingers as we know, terrified hands will lie. Even when she is dead, her hands or the soul will always be terrified. Even death cannot help her escape this enslavement of marriage, okay? Still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. You know how in zoo, these animals are trained with, to jump around the hoops, to walk around the hoops and everything. Those are ring masters that train the animal. Now she, Aunt Jennifer, although she is a human, she was controlled by this wedding band or the wedding ring that was used by her master, who is nothing but her husband. The wedding band or the wedding ring will still be there. The identity of her being the uncle's wife, it will not go away. She'll still be somebody's wife, even when she is dead. Okay, the tigers in the panel that she made, but on contrast to this, the tigers that she has created with the work of embroidery, they will be prancing around, they'll be in action, they'll be moving around, they'll continue to exist. How? Proud and unafraid. With the same amount of proud, they'll still be tigers. They will not be somebody else's tigers. They can't be named something else, like here our aunt is named as. Jennifer was called Aunt Jennifer and then just aunt. Now over here, these tigers will continue to be the tigers that they are, will be proud, will be unafraid, fearless as they were before. Okay. So over here, we see lie, buy, made, unafraid. The rhyme scheme is again AABB. In this particular poem, the rhyme scheme of all three stanzas is AABB, AABB, AABB. Okay. When aunt is dead, she cannot escape this slavery of marriage, the effect of this marriage. Her hands will be terrified as well. Like her entire existence, even after it is gone, it will still be remembered as somebody else's wife only, right? Still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel, they would continue to exist. They will not fade away. It is beautiful how the poet brings out also the fact that these artists or humans that create art, they are impermanent, they are mortal, they die. But whatever the work of art that they have created, it will be immortal. It will continue to exist forever. Even that is also a beautiful point that Adrienne Rich is bringing out over here. Moving forward with this stanza over here. Freedom after death, I don't think that is possible. Even after death, she's not free. Okay, she'll still be his wife. It is inescapable. The dominance or the mastering behavior of the husband, it is inescapable. There is no individuality at last, as we noticed. It's just aunt, not even Aunt Jennifer. Okay. Although she couldn't escape the troubled marriage or the burdened husband, what did she leave behind? The tiger she left behind, it will continue to inspire whoever looks at it. Whenever you look at the embroidery work that she has done, I don't think when her hands were fluttering, it could be maybe because of the fact that her husband does not approve of her, indulging herself or spending time embroidering, doing the embroidery. That is why she might be, worried and very much afraid to carry on with the work. But even then, she has pushed herself somehow to come out of that weakness and create this masterpiece. The tigers that are in action, which are so much proud, unafraid, fearless, bright and colorful. That when another woman or a man for that matter, when they look at it, they will be inspired to do something like that or to be free and fearless like the tigers. Although she couldn't be free from this burdening, husband and marriage, she created that something. She gave birth to something that will inspire a lot more that are yet to come. Okay. Artists may die, but art never dies is also the point. Then the alliteration that is used in this stanza is prancing and proud. How will the tigers be left in this world? They'll be prancing, proud and unafraid. Prancing, the consonant P is repeated twice. Prancing, proud. That is an example of the poetic device alliteration. Next, irony. What is the irony? What is the sad reality? The sad reality is tigers that are unafraid, free and proud. Something like this is created by who? Something like this is created by slavery. Somebody who was weak. Somebody who was weak has created something strong and powerful. That is the sad reality. That is the irony of this poem at the end. Now I hope this poem over here, although it was very simple with three stanzas with four lines and pretty simple words, it had a lot of things to communicate about. It had it was talking about art, it was talking about Aunt Jennifer's internal desires, feelings, and the dominance of the patriarchal society that is, pushed on her. Now the title is a metaphorical representation, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers. It can also be named as Aunt Jennifer's internal desires, but it has been named as, it is metaphor to desire to be free, Aunt Jennifer's tigers. Then the theme is nothing but the oppression of patriarchy, as we frequently talked about throughout this session. Rhyme scheme is very clearly A and B. Then Aunt Jennifer is a victim. What does Aunt Jennifer? We'll talk about the characters over here. She is the victim of the oppression done by the patriarchal society, who also has the desire to be free like any other human being, not just women for that matter, like any other human being. She also has the right, she also has the instinct to be organically free and to be able to do whatever that she wants to do. But over here, she's weak because she has already been objected to a lot of oppression and suppression. Then the tigers. Tigers symbolize confidence, pride, and a lot of, power, strength, assertiveness to be able to demand and seek whatever they want to do or want. Okay. Uncle is the significance of the patriarchy that is there in the society. He is the oppressor over here. It talks about toxic masculinity. When I say that all men are not toxic, it is the toxic masculinity that makes some people, when I put it that way, some people toxic. Okay, some people that are, very much controlling, very much demanding. They do not care about others. All they want is to be happy by themselves and do whatever that pleases them. That is toxicity. Now that is what we were talking about. Uncle represents them, that part of the human beings. Then the wedding band and the ring, it describes the commands that are being done by the husband or the expectations that comes out of the burdening marriage and society, of course. Aunt's shaky, terrified hands is the reality of her life. Although she had desires that came out in the form of embroidery, it is at the end of the day, what is the reality of her hands? Her fingers fluttering, shaky hands, finding it difficult to pull the ivory needle through the wool that she is using. That is the reality of her hand. Her fingers, the massive wedding band sitting on her hand, and which is stopping her from doing a lot of things that she wishes to do. Okay, that is the reality of her life. Now, with the death of one oppressed woman, can you expect or can you think that, okay, other women can also be free after this? Now that Adrienne Rich has written this, we have talked about Aunt Jennifer. Can people read it, or have people read it throughout and now all the women are free of their will? Are they able to do whatever they want to do? No, it might not be the case. On the contrary, it might not so be that most of them are not able to do what they want to do. There is a part in the society where women are nowadays being able to come up and express themselves, do whatever they want to do, explore various fields of life and achieve, make a name, make their own mark in various fields of life. But there are also a greater number of women even today who are still, ordealed by the masters or whatever the wedding ring that they have in their hand. It still sits very heavily on their hands and heads on their entire existence for that matter. They are still not able to come out of all of that. But that does not mean there's no hope. Aunt Jennifer has left behind her, bright, confident, powerful tigers behind for us. And Adrienne Rich has left us this wonderful poem to make it very loud and clear that no, not even just women I'm saying, I'm speaking for all the human beings out there. No matter who it is, every single individual has the right to be himself, to express himself the way he is. You don't have to act like somebody else just to please somebody else, okay? You can be yourself. You can choose to do what you want to do. It is your right. It is a universal human right, I feel like. The freedom to express yourself, the freedom of choice. It is all basic, very basic. You can be who you are. Only when you want to be, when you strive to be, you will definitely be who you want to be. Whatever it is, whatever work that you want to do, wherever you want to go, it is up to you. It is your choice. You have confidence in you, you have faith in you, you believe in the fact that I am going to make myself and my people proud. Do it. It'll end up being good, some good deed, definitely. When you believe in yourself, the world will eventually, everything will fall in place. On that note, I feel like we have had amazing eye-opening session for today. This is our 6th poem from your textbook Flamingo, named Aunt Jennifer's Tigers. I'm sure you also have tigers in your hearts that are ready to prance and come out. Set them loose, let them discover the world around and make their own mark. On that note, I would want to end this session, and I'll see you all in the next class. Thank you.